Welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we are in a soundproof booth because we're surrounded by so many board games. So
A wallow games.
It feels like that. You can see some of it.
Mm-hmm. We just can't fit it on the table and
No.
get it out of camera shot.
So today's video is just going to be, not a ranking, but just a quick kind of overview and a discussion about all of the 2021 board games that we've played.
Yeah.
So we're talking like non-war games. So we just did our kind of like top 10 of like the war games of 2021. This is just like things we did for fun. So we're not necessarily doing a ranking, but just a quick discussion kind of about all the things that we did. Gives you a glimpse into what some of the new 2021 games are, and also a bit about what we do kind of in our spare time when we're not doing this.
And I think most of these games we played with our gaming friends or our brother-in-law and father-in-law.
Yes. So there's a couple games that like you could say, oh, so 300 Earth and Water from Nuts Publishing, Red Flag Over Paris. Those are not necessarily strict war games that you could happily put on this. We've discussed those a number of times. There's full-blown reviews of those. You can go watch those if you're interested. Those are both very good games. A lot of this stuff, I'm looking at it, a couple of things have some reviews in it, but most of the stuff is kind of like maybe new to you, at least from us. So let's, I think, just dive on in, and let's start with this big old box right here. So
It's actually not that heavy.
That's because I've got all the miniatures out because I got to finish painting it. So this is Descent 3rd Edition from Fantasy Flight Games. So we had never played Descent or Descent 2nd Edition.
Nope.
We played Imperial Assault a couple times, which uses the same core system.
Yep.
Basically, all of that has been entirely redone in Descent. It's a very different system from that. You know, a couple of different statistics and some of the dice look kind of similar, but generally speaking, it's almost an entirely new game designed from the ground up. This is app-assisted, and there's like a whole crafting system, but it's a dungeon crawler co-op with a story. So we play it 4-player, and
we've played this
a number of times.
Probably 3 different occasions and 2 or 3 times a piece.
And it's a big box with a bunch of stuff in it.
Yep.
You do need a big table and a lot of space to play it. And you got to have, like, we play with the kind of smart device plugged into a TV so we can all see it.
Yeah.
That's, we're fortunate enough to have that, but, you got to have a tablet or a
it's app
tiny
assisted
phone to play it.
Right.
Like, you cannot play it without that.
No.
There's no way to really do that otherwise.
But it's a dungeon crawler. It uses miniatures, has 3D terrain as well. And you literally go kind of room to room. You take actions. And then you can do things like search, or you can fight, or you can manipulate something, open a door.
And everyone's kind of, different classes, fantasy classes, but also within that, you have this little economy of these exhaustion tokens and things that you're putting out. Every card that you have, including your player board, is double-sided with different abilities on them. So your character throughout a game isn't just static. I've got these abilities. I do some stuff, and then I come to this point, and then I kind of flip myself over so I can do a different thing.
Yeah.
And I'm using this weapon, which is a good ranged weapon, and I flip it over because now I'm
swords,
melee.
yeah.
Very, very cool, very neat way of doing it.
The system is just very interesting, and it really requires you to make a lot of choices.
Oh, yeah.
About what you want to do, and then plan ahead a couple of moves. Like you mentioned, I'm going to start with my bow, so I can fire a couple times, then I've got to run up, pull my swords, and start attacking. Just very cool. The crafting system, I think, is very unique.
Yeah.
And interesting. I thought it was a little more fiddly than I wanted it to be.
It's, a little bit of navigation on the menu, and it takes some time.
Yeah.
So this game has like a 17 scenario campaign in it.
So we played about half, give or take. Maybe a little less than half.
And but like some of the scenarios take like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I'm like 17 hours worth of play. It is like, a significant amount more than that.
Yeah.
So at least you're kind of getting some of your money's worth because it's not a cheap game.
No, and this is, it says Act 1 on it. I'm assuming they're going to come out with a second version.
They'll have umpteen sequels if it does well. That's what they have with the first few editions.
We bought this at Gen Con kind of when it was new, off the rack. Bought it for our father-in-law, right?
Yes. So yeah, fun,
really
game,
enjoyable,
right up our alley.
Fantasy Flight games to the T, right? Different size cards,
yeah,
lots of tokens. You got some cool minis. Really cool story. I mean, it's got some neat elements. You got individual characters, and you don't just play the same character all the time. That was the other thing I liked about it.
Yes,
you have to have certain characters for certain missions, so you kind of got to rotate because you don't want that guy to be totally inexperienced.
Yeah, and it's, it gets down to the level of, I've got this particular weapon.
Yeah.
I can craft a couple different attachments. I can get a different haft for my spear, or a different, dangly bit for my wand.
A pommel for my sword.
It's neat, and you change all that stuff, and so you can really customize the characters. That was a good, fun game. I had a really good time with it.
I'd like to play more of that. I just think it's, for some reason, we've kind of gone away from it. But, because we played other games.
And it's been very busy, yes.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Well, let's go ahead and do this one. We did a review of this.
Yes.
And it's a timeless classic. I mean, Dominant Species is one of my all-time favorite area control, board games. And this is Dominant Species Marine. It's not just more of the same.
No, it's quite different.
It uses the same system, but it does so many things in a different way. If you know anything about Dominant Species, one of the hallmarks of that game is the action selection. So you've got some pawns, you're putting them out, and you're deciding, I'm going to do a speciation where I move my guys around, and over here I'm going to do an attack and I fight people, and here I'm going to get some new territories. So in that game, everybody placed out, and you kind of went in order and took those pawns off and took those actions. This game is not like that. It still uses the action selection, but you're literally putting them out and then taking them off.
Yeah, it's more traditional in that sense.
Right.
I place my worker, I do the action.
Yeah.
Now, there's the limiting factor is you have to place below.
Yes.
So you have to be careful in the order that you do them. But in the original, it's like everyone sets out all of their stuff and then you resolve everything.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you planned well as your host.
Here you kind of do it as you go.
You can be a bit more reactive.
Yeah, so it's a different feel. It's also for 4 players. I think Dominant Species is for 5.
You can do 6.
Okay, 6. So Marine is only for 4 players. That is for 6.
Yeah.
Great game. Area control. You're trying to score victory points and control and fight a little bit.
This one's still nasty, but it's not nearly as vicious as the original one.
I felt like those cards were pretty nasty.
Yeah, the original one is it's cutthroat, though.
Terrible.
It's madness.
Meaning you're just killing each other the whole time, which is cool.
I had a great time with this. I really liked this.
Well, and it was so unique and interesting that it felt different, and I felt like it scratched the same itch, just in a different way.
Yes.
And I thought that was good.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
Dominant Species Marine, really great game. Chad Jensen's kind of final published design. I know he's got, Downfall, I think was his...
Did he start that?
I think he started it with John Butterfield, and so really, really glad to have this. It was nice to play, and frankly, a really great game.
Little board game that I played on my own is Chronicles of Crime 1900. This is like an investigation crime-solving game.
But not Cthulhu-like.
No.
Okay.
No. No, this is
someone's
been murdered, and you have to figure out who it is. And this one is also app-assisted, so you have a bunch of areas and characters, and they all have QR codes, and you scan them in the app, and it pulls up many more details than you could fit in a small box.
Got it.
Or when you scan the scene of the crime, you literally have to look around in VR, and you can use a headset if you want, and kind of figure out the clues, and it's timed. So you have 30 seconds to look at the crime scene, because it being kind of a solitaire or co-op game, you're playing against the clock more than anything. You have to solve it in time, and so you can't just look at the crime scene 100 times over, right? It's just to make that.
Well, this is cooperative, so does it also have cooperative mode?
So, yes, you can play it co-op, but it's I scan it, you look at it, I
Got
scan
it.
it. So
You're still working together,
Yeah, I'm
it's solo.
That's how I played it, because that way I can play at my own pace.
Sure.
And if I'm incredibly dumb and I make the wrong decisions, I haven't embarrassed myself.
Yeah.
But
Lucky Duck Games is the name of the...
Yes.
Okay, I didn't even know you had that.
No, yeah, it's Brum's. I borrowed it and played it.
Oh, okay. Our brother-in-law, Brum.
Yes. He backed the Kickstarter and has all of them, so...
He's hilarious. He has 30 Kickstarters coming and like another 30 that he's
so we
backed or backer. Yeah, so it's fortunate for us. Another game that we played that we really enjoyed. We really enjoy the base game, Space Corp. This is Space Corp Ventures. This is just an expansion.
Yes.
And frankly, all it is a bunch of new corporations.
That's like 95% of the expansion.
You got a couple new cards, I think, some different things, but not a whole lot. Literally, it's just a stack of boards, and you can start. Everybody can start at different levels. So it's very cool. Creates a lot of replayability in the game. We had a good time with this. I remembered how much I liked the base game because we've played it 2 or 3 times, but it's been probably 18 months to 2 years. So it was nice to get this back out, play it with our father and brother-in-law. Very well done. John Butterfield game. Has nothing to do with war. You know, it's just a space exploration.
It's a race game.
Very cool
It just adds asymmetry and some unique things that you can do or a starting position that you have that's different. Right. So just, it just adds some more interest to the game as well.
And some variety. And I think that, to me, that's one thing I've heard from a lot of people is, oh, it's a great game, but I feel it feels the same all the time.
Where are the Space Corps?
Right. And here's the Space Corps.
Yes.
So, anyway, very cool game. We enjoyed it. We did a review of this one. I'm going to take this home, take it out of this box, put it into my 3-inch box, and probably get rid of the box. But very cool game.
Yes. Another game that we played. You played this with me one time.
I played this with you twice.
Yes. And I played this a whole bunch with my son.
You and your son.
Yes. So this is Marvel United. This was a big Kickstarter that came through in 2021 from whatever they call themselves now.
Cool Mini or not.
Yeah. They're like CMON or Come On now.
Got it.
Who knows? But this is a very light co-op.
It's actually really cool. I enjoyed it.
It's a neat little mechanic, and some of it's crushingly difficult.
Oh yeah.
But
Rhino is one that just kicks your butt.
It's broken. You just say we don't play that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dumb. But I have fun with this. I enjoy playing it with my son. Almost the entirety of the thing is symbols.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to get into understanding to get into. Mm-hmm. And so he's able to do his thing, and I'm helping him, or I'm doing my thing, and he's helping me.
Yeah. And it's cooperative, right? You're working together, so you're not pounding your 8-year-old son into the dust.
No.
You're working together, and to me, that's a good way to teach him games.
And the art style's great.
Oh,
and
yeah,
got
it's
these
very cool.
tiny little chibi-style miniatures that are great.
And didn't you get, like, all the stuff?
Oh, yeah. I have, like, the stack
boxes.
of these is disgusting that I've got on my shelf. And we've played a lot of it.
I think we played at least 2 or 3 when I was here with you. But
it plays very quickly. So you set it up and you play it 3 times, takes an hour and a half, and you're done.
So I saw where they were doing some new ones.
Yeah, they did a big X-Men box recently.
Which would be cool.
And I think they're doing... I feel like I saw they were doing even more.
Okay.
Or something. But yeah, this was a fun, enjoyable, light game to play with your kids kind of thing.
Yep. And it's, like I said, it's cooperative, so it's fun in that way. You work together. I found this new game. This came out in 2021. It's called Alien: Fate of the Nostromo.
Yes.
If you know anything about aliens, this is I'm trying to avoid the alien, right?
Yes.
As I run around the Nostromo, fixing things, getting things done so that we can blast off or blast the alien out of the airlock. It's got a lot of really interesting things. It's a very basic game, though. I do want to say that I feel like this is a basic game.
Yeah, it's by Ravensburger.
Yeah.
Did you get it online?
I actually bought it from Target.
At
a deeply discounted rate as it was coming out.
Yeah, like it's not this big, massive, complex game. We played this in a night where we played some other things as well.
And I thought it was enjoyable.
Yeah, working together, moving around. Yep. I got to make this weapon, so I need these components. Let's go here, get those,
I like
and
that
do that
part
kind
of
of
it.
stuff.
That was
you can't
cool.
kill the alien. You just bop it back to its kind of starting position, and it comes back and gets you. Very difficult as well. Extremely difficult.
And the thing I really liked about it is you really have to work together because you can't cover the whole ship in time before the alien gets you. So you've got to split up. And so it's like, I'm running down this corridor, and oh crap, there the alien is, and now I'm kind of stuck.
And then your crew morale and stress goes down real quick.
But it's a cool game. Really enjoyed it. It has some neat little miniatures. They're not painted. No. But I enjoyed it. You're not going to get the depth of, say, the Alien deck building game, or the Alien Another Glorious Day in the Core that we played last year, but it was still fun. Yes. I'm glad I bought it. It was like $30. So, yay for me. I enjoy Alien-based games. You want me to do another one?
Sure,
You've got fewer on your side. This was a game that I took a chance on this because we have enjoyed Root so very much. This has nothing to do with Root.
No.
But it's made by the same company, same designer, really has the same or similar art style.
Yes.
But it's called Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile. This is a very funky game. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever played anything quite like this.
It's so different than a normal game, and basically you have different locations, you have different characters, and your characters represent different roles within the kingdom. One guy's the chancellor, he's in charge, has all the advantages in the world. Everybody else is trying to become the chancellor. And it's very funky. And what I mean by... I'm trying to explain what I mean by that.
If you've not played Oath, it is hard to explain, because there's a number of different things that you have to try and do to become the Chancellor, or to become the successor to the Chancellor. Yeah. There's a number of ways you can do it. Each of those ways is unique and very different and changes how you approach the game. And you do that so that you can be the Chancellor next time.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this whole end of the game phase.
Kind of a legacy style.
Very much. It's legacy. You don't tear up any cards that I know of, but you save the game by like, oh, you won, so like your lands and like all these buildings and monuments that you were able to protect and pay for kind of get saved in an order, and when you set the game up next time, you set those out in a certain way.
Yeah.
So like where we left off is where we start again, except you're in charge.
Right.
And so there's lots of wheeling and dealing because I've seen games where it's like, yeah, I'll allow you, you know, let's do a deal so I can get this thing for the future, but I'll let you be the Chancellor at the end of the game kind of thing. Because
you can actually win together if somebody else becomes the Chancellor and you kind of retain your post. You can win too. It's kind of funky.
It was pretty intense, though, is what I would say.
And actually, it was very enjoyable.
Yes.
I think we had no idea what we were doing.
No, this is not like a standard game in any way.
Did we play it twice? I feel like we played it twice.
We played like a learning game that they suggest,
and then we played another game.
Played it again.
And it was so interesting because you were the Chancellor, and our brother-in-law Brum ended up doing some funky thing at the end and won.
Yes.
And it was hard to do. It was not easy. He had to think about it.
He spent a long time building up his engine to do it.
But I remember thinking, oh, that's how you win this game. Very interesting. So I enjoyed it. I would love to play it again. I think it plays up to 6 players.
Which would be very intense.
It would. Because the board's not very big. I mean, you're looking at 6 to 8 locations.
I think 6 would be interesting because I think you'd get into bigger alliances.
I think so, yeah.
Where you're like, I'm the Chancellor. Yep. Let me get a couple of vassals. Let me offer citizenship to this person to buy them into our collective.
So it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. Had a good time with it. I bought this not on Kickstarter, but what do you call that? The afterward
like
backer
the pledge.
Yeah, pledge manager.
Whatever.
And I basically got everything that everybody got it on and paid like $80 for it. So it was a pretty good deal. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I bought it, and I would hope that in the future we could.
Yeah, I'd love to get back to more of that.
Yep. Just because it was interesting.
Yes. Next up, we have Heart of Darkness from Legion Wargames.
Yes.
This is Legion's first non-war game.
Mm-hmm.
So they've betrayed the name of their own company. No. So this is a game of kind of...
It's an adventure game.
Yeah, like sub-Saharan African exploration and adventure. Obviously, it's titled after the Joseph Conrad novel, and the front cover is evocative of the kind of covers you actually see on the book as well. This one it can play up to 5 people. You could play it. I don't think you could play it solo. I think you have to play it against
someone else. You could.
There's no reason you couldn't.
There's no reason you couldn't.
But this is a game where you're a little explorer guy who's been sent out by someone. So, like, you have... Are you a
representing
reporter?
A company or
Are you a religious missionary? Are you a scientist? And you're going out and you have an expedition. So you have all these items and supplies and porters and you're going through this big map of Africa through areas, trying to follow the rivers as they kind of sail upriver, and then you have encounters along the way, and those encounters you resolve like on a separate little encounter board as and you move through that, trying to find precious resources, and things like that.
Yeah, ultimately you're also fighting for victory points by allying yourself with different tribes or defeating different tribes.
Yes.
Finding treasures, finding interesting things. It's an interesting game. I did enjoy it necessarily, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It just wasn't for me.
No, I don't. It wasn't for our group, but I've heard groups who absolutely love it and have like stand-up moments, literally. So it had a lot of randomness to it. You draw all these random things that you then have to work through. You're drawing tiles that you're going and exploring through. And we played with 4, and there was quite a downtime, I felt.
Well, and I thought that was the worst part. Downtime and downtime that did not affect me at all.
No.
Meaning they're in a different part of the continent, and it doesn't matter what
most
they're
of us
doing.
were just kind of doing our own thing.
Yeah.
There was almost zero player interaction.
I would have liked it better had it had a little less randomness. I felt like those tiles, like some of the tiles I drew were amazing.
Yeah, you had a good setup, and everyone else had kind of crap.
And I'm like, that's not really fair.
No.
And then the second thing I didn't like was I was just doing my own thing. I didn't care what anybody else was doing. I was just trying to race to get the most points. I don't know. I think it's a cool game. It's an interesting game. I think maybe it needed a little more interaction to make it a little better of an experience. Just too much downtime.
Yeah, and that's just, that's not what I personally look for in a game. That doesn't mean that someone else wouldn't.
Well,
enjoy
I think there's
like
groups
this.
out there that would love it. I do.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Having spoken to Randy, who's the owner of Legion Wargames, apparently this is a very successful game in Europe. On the continent,
they love it.
Yeah, which I thought was very interesting. I don't know what that says.
Yeah.
But I'm like, good. I'm really glad it found an audience.
I'm glad that it's doing well because I think Kim Kanger is a great designer. He's designed a lot of really cool war games. That's not a war game.
Nope.
But it's an interesting theme and concept. I just think ultimately it didn't connect with me.
Yes.
That's my opinion. Take it or leave
What
it.
else we got next?
Let's go ahead and talk about Blitzkrieg. This is a second edition, so this is not the first edition.
Yes, so the second edition did come out in 2021.
It did. That's why it's included.
And it includes the little Nippon expansion in it.
Which is Godzilla running around.
But so the game's been around for a couple of years, technically. Very good two-player abstract game.
Not a war game, but it has a war theme. It's World War II.
It was extremely well received, and we got to play this new edition and completely understand why it was so
really
well
enjoyed it. It was a good experience, very interesting. Very abstract.
This one does have a full review on our.
It does. It does. I would play this again. In fact, we played the follow-up, which is Caesar, Rome in 20 minutes, or Seize Rome in 20 minutes. Totally different game.
Very different.
Uses some of the same elements and mechanics, totally different, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah.
Someone chastised us on the review that, Grant, these games aren't really that similar. And I'm like, I thought I said they weren't that similar.
No,
they were really a different focus, but that's okay.
They both use a draw bag.
Yeah, that's about
where it ends.
Historically themed, one an ancient theme, ancient Rome,
and they're two-player abstracts.
Yeah,
great.
But they play in 20 minutes. I just thought it was a really fun game. This is a game you could play with anybody. Seasoned, grognards as you're wrapping up the night. Your children, maybe your spouse. I just think it's a very cool, well-designed, fun game.
Yes, excellent game. Really, really, really good.
And once again, I totally understand why everybody thinks it's so good.
Oh yeah,
we played it. I was like, okay, I totally see it.
Yeah, because
I was skeptical.
It was all over the internet when that first came out.
Oh yeah,
everyone was like, "Oh, can't get enough of it.
So
it's
cool.
amazing."
So yeah,
we're late to the party,
and we missed out. Well, we normally play more war games.
It's true. All right, next up we have another big Gen Con 2021 purchase.
Such a fun game. And there's 2 boxes of that.
Yes, there is. So this is Rushbusters.
Project Vril.
From Mythic Games. French company. They do a lot of big miniatures style games. Very bombastic Kickstarters, and I've got more of this stuff coming.
What do you have that's coming?
I backed
You don't even remember.
What's it? Monster Apocalypse?
Oh, yeah. We played that at Gen Con. Fun.
Love it.
Just destroying buildings and fighting each other.
I used to have it back in the UK. And
fantastic.
So this is a kind of weird World War II alternative history dungeon crawling pulp
It's not alternative history. It's just what's been censored. The American and British government wanted to keep it a secret, so they they rewrote history.
So yeah, it's like,
very cool.
Top secret German weird alien alternative dimension testing. So there's like,
well, you're fighting a big monster that's like this tall,
crazy.
Pull one of those guys out. You got to pull.
I think all the miniatures might be in the other one. I think this might be just the time.
But it's just fun. It's just a fun game. Dice smasher.
Yes.
You're trying to develop some skills and use items. You're running around.
Yeah, you're the comic book heroes running around. Dual wielding Vickers machine guns.
As silly as that is.
Yeah, just like run and gun. You got a stealth lady with a sword, a little sniper rifle, Russian lady. Like trashy as all get out. Yep. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
This is the kind of mess that I'm playing with when I'm not doing war games.
Yeah, and it was so fun because we were at Gen Con and we were walking around, and I think you said you had heard about it. I had not heard about this.
I'd like heard the name.
Okay.
And basically didn't know anything about it.
So we walked by the table, and here in its grand glory of all these different boxes and expansions.
Reams and stacks.
And we're like, why didn't we hear about this? Why haven't we gotten this? So we bought it all. We spent like $225. I mean, we even bought the doors that are like upgraded
the
doors.
Are the best bit.
Well, it's so cool. But I've had a blast playing this. I would like to play it more.
Yes, I'm currently in the process of painting some of the stuff.
The thing I really like about it is scenario based.
Yes.
But you can also kind of do some random stuff.
Yeah, there's some like linked kind of stories and things like that, or you can there's like a scenario generator where you're like, system the guys on this map.
And that's how we played it. We just sat it up and did the random stuff, and it was really fun.
Yeah, and
like I remember at first I was like, how the hell am I gonna roll this many dice and get 7 successes? And I was like, oh, well, this is how you do it. And we learned, and it was fun.
I aim, I use both my guns, I flip this card, I do this ability, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had a blast with this one. I'm glad we bought it. I wish we could play more of it.
Yes.
But we have a wargame blog to kind of, and YouTube channel to run. So anyway, Rushbusters, Project Vril. So cool. This was a fun game.
Yes.
You can see it's a very cool little game in an itty-bitty box. And it's an abstract game called Border States from Shakos. This was on Kickstarter. It was a companion game. The other game was Saladin, which is kind of also very cool. But this game, you're fighting over the control of border states. You have troops and leaders, and you're placing them on campaign cards, doing some tricks, playing some cool cards, and trying to, control those. First to get however many points it is.
Yeah, you're trying to get cubes to move influence. It's a very abstract two-player game, but it's a very cool game. As a game, it's really cool.
And I think we played in about 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, not long.
And it's a historically themed game. There's nothing really war game about it.
No, you could totally change all the pictures of like the generals and change the names of the battlefields, and you'd still have an interesting game. Right? Yeah, it would be.
It was fun. We enjoyed the heck out of this. It's interesting because it's not really historically based, right? The generals are pretty much all the same. So each side has the Yankees have Grant, and me, right? They have me and General Grant, and his power's like a 3-power. And then they have Lee on the other side, and Lee's a 3. So they do no effort of real comparison or
it's two identical sides.
Yeah, same stuff.
I'm playing you.
Yeah,
we're playing each other and half you're like half bluffing what you're putting down. Half of the stuff's secret, half of the stuff's face up.
It's very cool.
Yeah, really, really neat little game.
I thought in a small box, compact design, really hit a home run for that one. I thought.
Yes.
Very, very fun.
One of the other games that I've got, and we'll get to it. Sorry.
And you've heard about Gloomhaven.
We've
played.
Box game, yeah. So what we're talking about is Gloomhaven Digital.
Mm-hmm.
So we got into this at the very end of 2021. We've played this box an embarrassing amount.
Hundreds of hours.
Yeah, like
mostly with family.
This
right?
is incredible. I love this.
Yeah, don't start if you don't want to play hundreds and hundreds of times. But now it's on a digital platform, on Steam.
We all got it through Steam and play digitally, and it removes all of the setup and teardown, which is monumental.
Glorious.
It automates all of the bad guys and basically everything.
It's like a video game.
You just
without being a video game.
You still pick your cards and have your character that you level, and you choose the composition of your decks and things like that. But it just does all the legwork for you, and it looks fantastic and it's great.
Yep.
So it's like a board game, but we played the digital version a lot at the end of 2021 and a lot into this year too.
And the tactile nature of Gloomhaven is one of my favorite things about it.
Yes.
You're handling the terrain, the monsters, the items, the cards, but each scenario takes 90 minutes to 2 to 2.5 hours. You go on that digital platform, all of a sudden you turn a 2-hour scenario into a 30 to 40 minute game.
So we probably spent over a year playing through the campaign of this.
Oh, well over a year.
And we finished the campaign in about a month or two.
Yeah, online.
Like online.
Yeah. Playing a couple, 2-3 hours a night from like 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Yeah, we play like 3 or 4 scenarios a night. Have a great time.
So much quicker to get through. And it's fun. I just have a blast with that, but yeah.
I realize how much great stuff is on Steam. I need to stay away from it because I'm going to end up spending way too much time
It's dangerous.
on that. It's
Steam
very
is
dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Another game that we got, not off Kickstarter, but they did a Kickstarter, and I think we bought it kind of afterwards. Clash of Cultures, the Monumental Edition. So this is the old Clash of Cultures with everything that was ever made for it included in one box.
Yes.
Some upgraded components, additional miniatures, I think. This is a 4X style civ building game.
Yes.
You're going out exploring tiles, you're developing cities, building technologies, building troops, going out fighting barbarians, fighting each other a little bit, but it's not really about that. It's about developing your civilization, using its advantages to win the game. We played this 4-player game with our father-in-law and brother-in-law. Had a blast.
Yep.
It was about a 2.5-3 hour game. Really enjoyed it. I'd love to play it again with them, try some of the different cultures, and see how it goes. But it's ahistorical.
It's entirely anachronistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the Mayans were fighting the
Egyptians, the Vikings, and
who was I?
Carthage.
I mean, it's asinine, but it's awesome. And really enjoyable. I thought the mechanics are very cool. Really had a good time with this one.
Yeah, this is a fun game.
Yeah.
And this edition has the previous expansions which couldn't get a hold, so it adds the Clash and the Cultures into Clash of Cultures. So the
Clash and Cultures in Clash
of
Cultures.
The complaint with the game when it came out is that it was called Clash of Cultures. It didn't have any unique cultures in it.
Right.
And
they're all generic.
It had like all these cool...
I'm playing the red culture.
It had all the Carthaginian war elephants on it.
Yeah.
And they weren't included
in the box.
And so everyone was kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so they released the expansion with both of those things in it.
Yeah.
This is the new revised package. It's got everything in it. You can get it all. Very reasonably priced considering everything that you get in it.
And really a lot of fun. I actually didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, but I think a second play, I would really enjoy it more.
Yeah, you got to know... Now that you know what you're getting yourself into, you're like, I'm going to appreciate it for what it is.
I'm not going to build up so many elephants next time and go out and try to... But I almost won. It was like really close. So, fun game. Really enjoyed it. WizKids, Clash of Cultures, Monumental Edition. That's a big game.
Okay. There's a couple games that we don't have with us.
Yep.
So, which is a shame.
It is because they're both very good.
Yes. So, the first one is Dark Ages.
Yep.
By...
Board and Dice?
Board and Dice Games.
Yeah, which I believe is a Polish company.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
So we played Again, Brum kickstarted it. We played Holy Roman Empire. No, we played Legacy of Charlemagne. Damn it. We played the Western one. No, the Eastern one.
So that would be Holy Roman Empire, right? Charlemagne is France.
I don't remember which one it was.
Okay.
I should know, but I don't. We played the Eastern map. We played that a number of times.
Yeah.
We played it three player. Really fun. Again,
Civ building game.
Civ building, dudes on a map style game. We play a lot of that. Like that style of game.
Because it has some elements of combat, interaction, trade, a little bit of alliance making, negotiation.
Yeah.
That's why we like those games, because it's like war games.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and play my own little solitaire game
and never have
wars, like making a farm. It's just not for me.
It's not. You have to make farms, but it's about making farms so you can build more and yeah.
So
take out the barbarians.
That is a very cool game.
It is,
and it's a big box, and it's got a bunch of stuff in it. Some of the modules are cool. Some of them are kind of like whatever.
Yeah, and it's kind of like carte blanche. You can add any one of the different little expansions. Like there's leaders and there's I'm trying to remember what some of the other ones were.
So there's leaders, there's buildings, there's like a historical module, so you can add in like the conquest of Poland.
Okay.
There's the Crusades.
Yep, we played that one.
There's like a one called The Weird, where it's like there's like some evil wizards and stuff.
We didn't play that one.
There's like a bunch of different bits and pieces that you can add.
But it's modular, or you can just play the base game,
which is excellent.
And it's really good because you're using your, you have to build stuff. It's resource gathering, and then you have to build out and go out and conquer. It's just really well done. You have to buy cards that are technologies or unit upgrades or special events or special actions. And it's just a blast. I mean, we have enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
And if you asked me before we play that, I would have said, I'm not sure I'm really going to love it.
Yeah.
But I love it.
It was really good. And recently, we played a 7-player game of it. Which both
was insane.
Maps. It took ages.
We played all day.
Wild. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do that again.
It was very chaotic.
Yeah.
I felt like, because you have to watch other people in that game. But you really don't have to. But if you want to be competitive, you kind of got to watch other people.
And there was a whole, like, it takes up so much space if you play that.
I couldn't even see the technologies.
That
was my complaint the whole game.
A huge problem.
I'm like, can you tell me what that technology is? I have no idea. You're over there studying, cheating.
When you play with 4 players around one board with a little lineup of stuff, much easier, much more manageable. That's very reasonable. But yeah, we even played a big one of that, and it was like, that was a great game. I love that game.
After we were done, I think everybody frankly wanted to play again, because
that may have been the most successful game of the weekend.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So really enjoyed that. I wish we had brought that, but it is a huge game.
Massive,
lots of plastic, lots of little buildings, lots of units, tons of cards. Just very good, and it's also from Board and Dice. Did we say it was Board and Dice?
Yes, it's Board and Dice games.
So Polish company. It was off Kickstarter. I'd love to get a copy, but Brum lives here. We don't really need a copy. We'll just play his. But really enjoyed that. I had a great time with that one.
Another one of his that we don't have here is Nemesis.
Oh, such a fantastic game.
Do you remember who does that one?
I want to say it was Awakened Realms.
Yes,
but
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also think that's a Polish company.
It is.
Okay, which is kind of odd.
Nemesis is not Alien. TM.
It is Alien in every respect, except it's not called Alien.
No.
So
like, you are all crew members of this ship, and you each have a personal goal and a corporate goal. You've got to choose what you're doing with those. And
I think you can play a couple of rounds before you decide, correct?
Yeah.
It's not like you have to decide, I'm going to go after, but at one point you have to decide.
Yeah, at some point everyone goes through the gate and you've got to pick which one you're doing. And so everyone's winning in different ways and very secretive ways. Half the ways you're the secret asshole.
It's Hidden Traitor, but it's very different form of Hidden Traitor.
Yeah, it's so like some cards are like player B must not survive.
Right.
Or some cards are like everyone has to survive and you got to get home.
Right.
Or some it's like,
which doesn't happen often.
No one can survive but you.
Yeah.
Or some of them it's just like, all the aliens have to die.
Yep.
Like, you have to blow up the ship, kind of.
And everyone will have a different goal like that.
Yes.
You mentioned player B can't survive. So our father-in-law, he had me, I couldn't survive, and I didn't know that. And we're like over there fighting this alien, and he chucks a grenade in, and I'm like, are you trying to kill me? He's like, no, I'm trying to get the alien. And it's like laughter ensued. It's just that kind of game.
Yes.
You're trying to screw everybody, but sometimes you're trying to work together. You have to trust some people. Sometimes you never want to trust that person.
I've done one thing and no one will ever trust me again.
Yeah, right.
So you have to play.
You have to be careful.
Very reasonable, so you don't out yourself if you're trying to be a traitor.
Well, I remember also because we played 2 or 3 games of that. I think we played that on a couple different occasions. One of the best parts I remember we all had to survive, or that's what I thought. I think it was Brum had a card that said nobody can survive except for him. He had to get into the escape pod and get out. So we're like, oh, the engine, is the engine still working? And I went over and checked the engine, and somebody had sabotaged the engine. And I'm like, okay, who was over here last? And it was Brum. And then all of a sudden we're like fighting to get back to the...
Fix the engines, fix the engines!
And it's just, we ran out of time before we blew up.
And we're all trying to fix the engines, and he's over at the cockpit just changing the navigation to outer space, so we all just die anyway.
It's hilarious. So it's one of those kind of... It reminds me a lot of Dead of Winter.
Yes.
That zombie... Different focus, but it really reminds me of that game, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not taking the trash out, I'm going to pile this trash up here and kill everybody, or I'm going to fight hard to try to help, and anyway, it's that kind of game.
Yeah, I don't have to kill the alien, I just have to not be the last one in the room with the alien.
Exactly. Just really a fun game, very interactive, very exciting, very tense. I mean,
and very difficult.
And very, I mean, we played it 2 or 3 times, and I'm not sure anybody won. I think I won one time. I got in the escape pod and got out.
And
the rest of you died.
Yes.
Which I didn't have to kill the rest of you. I just needed to survive.
Yes.
I wasn't trying to kill you, but that was a blast. I enjoyed both of those games from those 2 Polish companies, and I'd have to say those were probably my 2 games of the year in board games.
I think about Nemesis. There's nothing quite like you get into the hypersleep chamber, put yourself to sleep, and then the game ends, and then you flip the engines and the ship blows up.
Yeah.
Or you flip the navigation and I survived, but we ended up around Mars.
Yeah, which is not where we wanted to go.
There's no food and water, and I died.
Yeah, we died.
You've done all this work and it still ends terribly. It just feels very like Alien Covenant.
Oh yeah.
You get some of those kind of oh, that's grim vibes out of it. It was very fun.
And it's one of those things that the ship is big enough that you really you can't go everywhere.
No, it's impossible.
And
you fake work as a team.
Yeah, you fake work as I don't know, just such a great thematic experience, and I'd love to play more of that. I really would.
Oh yeah, that's if anyone suggested that on game night, I'm like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah. One other game that I got off of Kickstarter, and this is my first Cool Mini or Not Kickstarter. You have the other 2 versions of this game called Blood Rage and Rising Sun. This is called Ankh, Gods of Egypt. It is a miniatures-based area control with about 14 different ways to score victory points. Big game. Really enjoyed this. We've only played it once.
Yes.
We played it with a 3-player. It has some interesting mechanics, because when somebody's out so far in front, which I happen to be because I think I just grokked what I needed to do, the 2 players in second and third position, don't they merge?
Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit player elimination. There comes a point, there's a gateway 2/3 of the way through the game where the person who's last merges with the person who's second to last.
Yeah.
And you get this 2-powered combined guard who now has a pretty good catch-up mechanic because they break some of the rules and limitations of things you can do. So they can start double-tapping things that you can't normally do. And it's a really neat way of doing it. I think this is... this is very much the final one of the trilogy of these games.
Yeah.
And it feels like it. I feel like the design space, whilst they share some commonalities in the style of game, I think they're all very different.
The Blood Rage feels so different compared to this one. And really, Rising Sun was also very different.
The it's dudes on a map. That's what ties them all together.
Yep.
But how you execute a lot of those things and what those things look like, very different. And this one I think is probably the deepest one.
Yeah.
You're building buildings and trying to secure areas and put guys out to control these areas, but there comes points in the game where you now get to put out extra borders. You can carve up the land into smaller
which is
areas.
Interesting.
And this little map making element is like I can put them. You're limited how you can.
Well, you kind of carve out one of your
I
opponent's guys
just to screw you over. And so that I now control this.
Because I cut out one of your guys, I now control it because I have more guys than you now.
But the way that those are limited, you have to be very careful and plan of how you're going to do that, or be very opportune as well.
Yeah.
Really, really cool game. And beautiful miniatures, right?
I think that I've enjoyed every single one of these. I think Blood Rage is my favorite, just because... Probably because it was the first one.
Sure.
And it literally is about just combat.
It's out of the three, it's the simplest. Yeah. For sure.
You're using your different abilities, but you're really just fighting a whole bunch.
Yeah, you put guys out to control areas, everyone's dogpiling Yggdrasil, and then everyone triggers their abilities, and a whole bunch of people die, and you're like, cool.
This one I felt was a little more elegant, a little more unique, and had a lot of very cool parts about it. Like you said, redrawing the map, using... area control and building control and a little bit of combat. Just very cool. I really liked this.
Yeah, this is a very good game. I like all of those.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I would have to say my top 3 games of this year, I think were, I think Dark Ages is first for me. I think Nemesis is second. And I would have to say Ankh is probably third.
Ooh.
I hate to rank them because we don't really rank or play these that way. But they're all so good.
Boy, yeah, that's tough. I really liked Descent.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic.
Ankh was very good.
Yeah.
Dark Ages is amazing. Nemesis is amazing.
Yeah.
Red Flag over Paris is amazing.
That's a war game. It's got a die roll for combat. It's area control as well.
But yeah, those are a bunch of the games that we played that were new in 2021. So... I hope that you found that interesting or fun. Let us know what non-war games you played in 2021 as well.
Yeah. And just because they're not war games doesn't mean they're not good games or interesting. And frankly, there are times where we've beat each other up enough. 2-player. We want to get our friends together and our family and have just a good old rip-roaring, yelling, screaming match and have a good time. So... that's kind of paradoxical.
Yes, but
we still have a good time with it.
Maybe that was an interesting window or insight into the kinds of games that we enjoy in the off-season, so to speak. So, appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.